All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Missoula County LEPC meeting. This meeting of the LEPC is being recorded by Missoula Community Access Television as part of a media access grant donated to Missoula County. This meeting will be aired on MCAT channel 189 or 190 and downloaded to MCAT's video on demand at a later date. Please speak into the microphone to ensure audio capture. We'll start with introductions.
All right, welcome everybody. Have a seat. We're going to start with introductions. One of the reasons for this meeting is to get to know everybody and know who some of our partners are out there. So we always start with introductions for that reason.
Thanks, Nick. Peter Kilman, BNSF Railroad.
Pete Giordino, Deputy Fire Marshal, Missoula Rural Fire.
Max Rebholz, Northwestern Energy.
Shane Coleman, Northwestern Energy.
Trent Drinkwalter, University of Montana, Environmental Health and Safety.
Ben Mason, University of Montana.
Hi, good afternoon. Kirsten Brinkley with Montana DES.
Steffi Novak, Missoula Community Emergency Response Team.
Maitland Manson, Team Rubicon.
Tim Jacobs, Missoula Community Emergency Response Team.
Caitlin Nielsen, St. Patrick Hospital.
Matt Heimel with Missoula County Floodplain Administration.
Corey Hafner, Thatcher Company of Montana.
Dave Strohmeyer, Missoula County Commissioner.
Chris Clark, Community Medical Center.
Matthew Mills, CHS Pipeline Terminal.
Jake Ashbrook, Chief Safety Officer, Mountain Line.
Damian Frisbee, Frenchtown Rural Fire.
Hello. Tim LaRoche, Missoula County's Wildfire Mitigation Program.
Jerry Sarabia, Missoula County Wildfire Prevention Mitigation as well.
Judy Douglas, Missoula Aging Services. We help out with the EOC call center.
Dave Howe, Missoula County Search and Rescue.
Good afternoon, Randy Ocon, Missoula County Office of Emergency Management.
Kelsey Alling, Water Quality District.
Walker Thompson, MSU Nursing.
Bob Campbell, City Council.
Ben Slater, Missoula Police.
Nikki Adams, Rocky Mountain Labs, Emergency Preparedness.
Leanne Allegretto, National Weather Service.
Tim DeFors, Missoula County Citizen Representative.
Okay, thank you. And I'm Nick Holloway, Missoula County Emergency Management.
I'm TJ Hagemo, Yellowstone Pipeline, Phillips 66. The next thing on the agenda is public comment. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Motion to approve by Ben.
Okay. The next thing on the agenda is community preparedness presentation. Peter Kilman, BNSF Hazardous Materials and Emergency Response Manager.
All right, thanks, Nick. All right, I'm Peter Kilman, BNSF Manager Hazmat for Montana and Wyoming for BNSF Railway. And what do we got, about 15 minutes, Nick, or so? Okay. All right, so the BNSF acquired DMRL January of last year, and then we're just trying to make that merger, make sure we get out and touch all the community points. Because of the merger, that was an opportunity for me to come up here and take this job up Montana. So we'll go to the next slide. All right, so what BNSF is, what we are, 33,400 miles of track. So we've got a lot of track, a lot of big railroad. Actually, we're the biggest railroad in the United States, bigger than all the other railroads. UP thinks they're the biggest, but we actually have more miles and we move more freight. So 32,000-ish employees, somewhere in there. That varies, comes up and down a little bit for fluctuations in business. 28 states. We operate in Canada. Move a lot in Vancouver and up in Winnipeg. 8,000 locomotives. So horsepower locomotives, that's how we talk about it on the railroad. 1,600 trains a day. So think about that. That's busy. 1,600 trains. Each one of them is at least a mile long. So that's a lot of moving freight every day that we move up and down. So fun fact, 1.2 million hazmat shipments. 2023, the number's just about the same for 24. Didn't really change much. And then we're putting $4 billion back into the track. That was last year's numbers, and this year's going to be about the same as well. So everybody always asks this question. 1 ton of freight, we can move 500 miles on 1 gallon of fuel. So efficiency, we're by far the most efficient form of transportation there is in North America. All right, Nick. All right. So hazmat region maps. So we have the east. We don't really care about those guys. Because if we ever have to have them, it's something really bad has happened up here. So then let's see, go to the next one. I think it'll kick over. All right, there we go. So we have Jeff Hankins. He's our manager down there in New Mexico, Colorado, Utah. He used to cover Wyoming and Montana, but then they brought me up here so that lightened his load a little bit. Then we have James Farner out of Southern California. He covers LA, Arizona. We don't do a whole lot in Nevada, so we don't have to worry about that too much. And then I think the next button shows me. There I am right there, beautiful Montana over in Billings. So I cover Montana and Wyoming. And then we have Justin Piper, that'd be the next key. There in the blue, and he covers British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. So the reason why we bring that up is we have 1 week on-call rotation. So any one of us 4 covers the entire western region on call for 1 week at a time. And there's enough craziness that happens all over on the system. Oil leaks, diesel fuel leaks, crossing collisions, locomotive failures, that 1 week's enough to keep us busy for the rest of the month. All right. So like we talked about, 1.2 million shipments of hazmat. And on this is a good page too to talk about this. So railroaders are simple, right? We're really simple. We got circles and squares. So if you graduated kindergarten, you can be a railroader. That's pretty much. So circles, tank cars, if it's a round vessel, it has liquid in it. If it's a square vessel, a rectangle, more than likely it has dry commodity in it. All right, Nick. All right, so this is a good fact that we just got, came out from the AAR just last week. So as you see, we had a lot of incidents, 2004, 2006, and then it's continued to drop down to 24. We've made a lot of good progress. Each one of these spikes is a significant derailment. And then if we have 1 unit train, like 1 unit train of ethanol, that's what this spike is right here on the system in 2020. That's just 1 train of ethanol, 1 train out of the 1,600 a day times a year. Just one of those trains derailed, and that's what caused that spike right there. So we are trending significantly in the right direction is what we want. All right, let's see. And then here's BNSF stats right here. You see at the left of the top left, we have a huge amount of hazmat shipments right there. And that's coming from the Balkan crude oil. So crude, we like to ship crude in pipelines if we can. If we can't ship it in a pipeline, then we ship it by rail. And that's what drove that spike there. And then you can see we're trending downward, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. So if we trend downward in hazmat shipments for the railroad, that's not necessarily a bad thing for the BNSF. We don't mind that. We have a lot of freight out there, a lot of corn, a lot of other stuff we'd like to move. We do have to move hazmat, so we're going to move it safely, but we're trend downward. So we have 2 real stats on the railroad: non-accident release, which means that's a leaking package, a leaking tank car, a leaking bulk container of some kind of hazmat. And then we have an accident release, which means we crashed our train. We had a major derailment, broke open some tank cars. So you can see the accident release, there's a couple big spikes in there. Those are all, again, single train derailments. So 1 big train of ethanol derailed in 22 down in Oakland Union, Texas. I think we caught 28 rail cars on fire of ethanol. So that's what causes that big spike. So overall, That spike looks bad, but if you look at the entire system, we move 99.9% of our hazmat shipments without incident. All right, let's go. There we go. This is the fun part right here. So when I graduated high school, we had like the old typewriters you had to smash the keys with and move the thing across the top. We didn't have computers. So technology in me has been a challenge as I grow old. And then one day I'll grow old enough I can retire and then I can put my cell phone away and just be grouchy. But in the meantime, we're going to grab technology on the railroad and we're going to look at stuff. So the second to the left, our detectors take 35 million reads a day on the system of BNSF rolling stock, so rail cars, locomotives. That's impressive, 35 million reads a day. That number is only going to go up as AI increases. So positive train control, PTC, positive train control, means our locomotives have by default a fail-safe that will trip if the engineer doesn't hit the alerter. Every 60 seconds, the engineer has to hit the alerter to keep the train functioning. If he misses that, it'll go into a braking application. If you run through a red light or a yellow light at a speed that's not normal or any kind of red light, it'll go ahead and trip a signal and shut the train down. So it's not fail-safe for every bad situation, but it definitely adds a layer of safety that we didn't have in the past. And then we've got our Geo cars. We like to pull them. They look kind of like a business car, and they run all over the system, and they read the track, and they look at all kinds of fun stuff, find defects that human beings can't find. And then just the big data analysis. When I started railroading with the BNSF here 20 years ago, we had one guy on the desk, on the detector desk, and now he's got an entire team. He's like a general director now, and he's got a huge team of people under him. And that's just growing and growing and growing. All right, next one. There we go. Community training. I was just talking to Peter here, the rural fire chief, about community training. What BNSF wants to do is we want to reach out and get with our communities and train, because bad things do happen. And I'd rather know you before bad things happen than get to know you at 3 o'clock in the morning when we have stuff on fire and bad things are happening and there's lots of emotion and it's difficult to really build a relationship of trust during an incident. It's a lot easier to do it before an incident. We train for the worst, we hope for the best, but we are realistic. We understand bad things are going to happen. So by the year 2024 now, we've trained 150,000 first responders since our program has started. So 150,000 first responders we've touched, gone through training. We have our cool little box car, BNSF 99914, and then our tank car, BNSF 99911. We keep that over in the Laurel Roundhouse throughout the wintertime to keep people from painting it and doing bad things to it. We used to keep it down in California, but then it looks like a Christmas tree when it comes back out of California every year, so then we have to power wash it off and clean it, so we keep it up here in Livingston now. So the moral of the story is we do a lot of training, and one of the things I really love to do is just reach out to communities, which I really appreciate, Nick, you having me come over here for this. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, first responder access to information. So we have a really cool app for the first responder fire department chief type. It's an app that will tell you what's in the rail car. You can look up the rail car number and it'll tell you if it's hazmat, what it is, the shipping papers. That's an invitation only app. We don't want everybody to have that because we don't want somebody with bad intentions looking up rail cars and then thinking up bad things to do. So we do have that great app. It's perfect for a first responder, and we cover that in our community training as well. And let's see. Let's go to the next slide there. Online Learning Center. So this is a really cool app BNSF has. You can go to bnsfhazmat.com, and we have this really cool online learning center with a lot of different modules in there. And you can request access to that. You can go to it, request access, and then that'll be granted. And then you can start taking our ethanol there's one right there, ethanol emergency response considerations. You can start taking all of these little webinars to increase your knowledge and training that's out there. BNSF puts a lot of effort into that. And I think that might have been it. Let's see what's the last one there, Nick. Oh, here we are, response resources. So all those little bubbles and dots are all the equipment we keep across the system. I have something like 53 trailers in Montana. We keep a lot of boom, thousands and thousands of feet of boom in a lot of trailers across Montana, Wyoming. We have wildland firefighter trailers. We have here in Missoula, we actually keep our wildland firefighting train. We have 4 rail cars that hold 30,000 gallons of water, and then we have monitor on one end. So once it starts warming up, about now, we'll fill them full of water. And then when we have a major fire, we'll go ahead and deploy that with the locomotive. We try to get out there and wet down the tracks, wet down the bridges. We can't really fight a major wildland fire with it, but we can keep our right-of-way and our structures wet, and we can provide water to the first responders that are in very rural location. And we have, I think, 6 of those trains on the system now. We can tie them together and we can move them around. It's a big asset that we maintain. And I think that might be it. All right. So I don't want to take up too much time, but if anybody has any questions, I'll do my best to answer. Yes.
For you, Peter. So I went back to the slide that you showed, and there was this big drop in 2006. And I'm just wondering, do you know what you guys did differently from 2005 to 2006 that really changed the trajectory of these kind of hazmat accidents?
Really drove the dynamic. So 2006 was the busiest railroad year. We moved tons and tons of freight on the railroad. Back in 2006, I was still working in the Kansas City locomotive shop. So I wasn't really touching that aspect of it. But I know if we look back historically, BNSF 2006 and across the nation, that was the busiest railroad time ever. And then from there, it kind of gradually dropped down. I imagine there's some regulations. Tank cars, we have like the DOT 111 tank car. We phased those out now. There was probably a change in there, something significant that drove that down. So
Could have been multiple things, but one of the drivers was lower volume after.
lower volume, right, yep. And the railroads are required to haul hazmat. If you produce a freight and it's acceptable freight to ship, the railroads have to offer you a reasonable shipping rate to ship that freight. We don't like to, there's some things we really don't like to ship, so we'll leverage costs to kind of drive that away from us if we can. But if you come to us and say, I have this freight, I want you to move it, we are obligated under federal law to move that freight. So we do have to move stuff sometimes we don't really like. Any other questions?
Any other questions? There's a question out there.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, so we have unit trains. A unit train will be like a solid ethanol train, a solid crude oil train, something like that would be a unit train. And then a manifest train, a regular freight train could be all kinds of stuff that we pick up from local vendors. So the local switching crew will go around and pick up onesies and twosies cars all over the system. And then they'll build all that into a big train and that goes east or west to destination. So some trains derail and it's all a grain train, right? So from our perspective, if we derail a train, derailing a coal train or a grain train, that's not so bad. It's not near as bad as derailing an ethanol unit train. That's a lot worse. All right.
Any other questions for Peter? Okay.
Excellent, thank you.
So I just opened up the Ask Rail app that he was talking about, and the first page it comes to ask you to enter the number of the car. So it's really easy to use.
Yeah, easy peasy on the Ask Rail app. If I can just go over that real fast. You can put the rail car in there. If you start running a whole bunch of rail cars, every one of those requests actually goes through our desk down at Fort Worth. It has to be approved physically. So if we see like Nick look up 10 cars in a row, they're going to be like, oh, wow, what's going on? So they'll shut Nick off because they're like, what kind of craziness has he got? And then Nick will call, hey, you shut my app off. Then we'll turn it back on and figure out what's going on. So we don't want somebody sitting there at the crossing just typing in every car that comes by. So
I'm surprised I haven't been busted for that yet.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, Peter. The next thing on the agenda is the National Weather Service update. Leanne Allegretto.
No, if they ask. Hello, everyone. Leanne Allegretto here. I know a lot of you, many of you are still new to me. Marty Whitmore has officially retired. I'm sure he did his farewell tour a couple months ago, a month or two ago. Ray Nicholas, our service hydrologist, also retired. I am now his permanent fill-in. I am your hydrologist at the Missoula Weather Office. So, I'm not gonna show anything. The point and click up here is fine, but I could show you a bunch of different colored things, but it's probably just easier for me to get up here and talk. I don't know where to stand because there's this big old banister here, so I'll just wander. Nick told me that you usually get an outlook for the next, 2, 3 months until your next one. So I'll start kind of near term, what you're seeing up here. We do the 7 to 10 day, and it's going to be the spring roller coaster that we're pretty used to, which is actually pretty good. There's no huge, long-term dry period, and there's no long-term super cold period. So this is pretty standard, and we're looking at that for the next 7 to 10 days. If you look out 2 weeks, we do tend to stay pretty seasonal, so nothing out of the ordinary. If you go out 1 month, we start to dry out, still nothing out of the ordinary. But then we do start to see signatures that go into June, July, that are showing well below normal and well above normal temperature trends. So we're trending ENSO neutral, so that's neither La Nina nor El Nino. So that being said, the trend would be for more often than not warmer temperatures and more often than not drier conditions. So I could show you that with an orange blob over Montana and Idaho, but whatever. Then for rivers, since I feel obligated to brief y'all on that, we're doing really well. In fact, better than last year at this time by a large margin. However, the Blackfoot is still in the lowest. I think it's below 20% of normal for this time of year. So the Blackfoot Basin and the Blackfoot River itself, the headwaters, all of it is just, it's not doing well. It's not getting enough water in the form of snow, rain, or soil moisture. So I'm in direct contact with the drought committees for both Idaho and Montana, so I give input into that. And it's still got a big giant, I think it's a D4, at least a D4 for drought conditions, so extremely dry. And that's been no change. Everywhere else for snowpack, we're looking fantastic. We're about 90% of normal here around Missoula, Upper and Lower Clark Fork, and down in the River Valley area, and then above 100% the farther north of I-90 that you go. So reservoirs are good. They're above 100% for storage as of right now, so there's no, look at you, thank you. Yeah, so these are the giant basins. You can get them down into sub-basins that go per river and headwaters. So if you're looking across the board, we'd like to see the green. We like dark blues even better, but we'll take green because last year we were in the red and orange. I put out a flood outlook. I send it out to most folks here. I'll do another one at the end of April, see how we shake out. This month is super crucial. I'm sure all of you are well aware. Temperature trends can make or break the snowpack, and especially May, we'll see how it all starts to melt out. Luckily, if you were to look at the melt-off rate for most of our basins, we have just started to come down. But we're doing that wobble where it starts to melt, then it gets colder and we get snow, it starts to melt, it starts. So that's what we like to see. Nothing's coming off real fast and then emptying out all at once. So as far as flooding, it looks like the Clark Fork has a 10% chance of reaching its flood stage sometime in June, and that's if nothing changes. If we have a super big warm-up, that obviously will change. If we don't melt off till the end of May and it pushes things, it'll come off a little bit differently, so it all kind of plays into it. But as of right now, if nothing were to change, we're looking at a pretty standard flood season. Again, nothing crazy. The Bitterroot looks good. Painted Rocks Reservoir looks good. I mean, we're in pretty good shape. It's kind of good news. I can't say anything about fire season because we don't know. That kind of waivers on June can be made to break it, that way. But the hot and dry outlook for the summer, and if it starts in June, starts a little earlier than climatologically speaking, then that's not ideal for our fuels. Any questions? I can quickly bring something up if you have specifics.
Any questions for Leanne?
And just to let you know, we are still 24 hours. We are still going, and we're still here for your weather, water, and safety needs. So give us a call anytime.
Thanks, Leanne. And we call Leanne and the Weather Service pretty regularly just to stay in touch, and they're really good partners to have. So if anybody needs any weather information, they're very responsive quickly.
All right, thank you for that. Next on the agenda is emergency alerts issued this quarter.
Okay. I don't have the page with the emergency alerts, but I think I remember it. We, from January to the end of March, we had 8 and 3 is 11 emergency alerts, 4 of which were tests, and the rest were involving missing children, 8-year-olds in 3 cases, and I can't remember how old the person was in the 4th case, but they were all located safely. So that works well, getting that information out to people that need it in the immediate area and sort of crowdsourcing some of that search for kids has been some good operations for us.
All right, thanks, Nick. The next thing on the agenda is the LEPC Standing Committee reports or updates.
Okay, so the Incident Management Team Oversight Committee did not meet. The Access and Functional Needs Subcommittee of the LEPC met. They continue to meet, and things are going well with them. They talked about the Integrated Preparedness Approach project that OEM and Missoula Health Department are engaged in with FEMA. And students we've got 2 public health interns and a BACUS intern working on a project that will help us identify segments of the population that may have particular barriers to emergency messaging and help us strategize to break down those barriers and communicate with folks that may be a little bit more difficult to communicate under emergency situations. Right now, the reason the public health folks aren't here is because they are up in Helena at the Confluence Public Health Alliance Conference in Helena, presenting a poster based on this project up there. Lastly, the Health Emergency Advisory Team, or HEAT team, is keeping an eye on emergency infectious disease trends, including bird flu. DPHHS will be hosting a measles tabletop. Initially, they had planned to host it in June 2025, but they pushed it up to April 14th because of the emerging measles incident. We did do a measles tabletop last fall, so this will be the second in a year in Missoula, so you can never practice too much on that stuff. Any questions with any of the subcommittee reports?
All right, thanks, Nick. The next on the agenda is grants.
So the Homeland Security Grant, it's due tomorrow. So if you do have an application ready to go, get it to us so that we can get it in by the end of business tomorrow. If you don't have one and want to get one in, well, that's going to take quite a bit of last minute work, but we'll see what we can do. The LEPC leadership group, so that's Ben Slater, TJ, and Adrian Beck have prioritized 2 projects that came our way. One for a sheriff's office containment vehicle, bomb squad containment vehicle, and the other for some emergency lighting to be used in elections and during incidents here in Missoula County. I can tell you that is something we need for incidents, and I know elections obviously needs them as well. We've had a number of incidents where we've had insufficient illumination, so that'll be great to have. Next is the CPR grant. Randy, can you report out on that, please?
Yeah, good morning, Randy Ocon, OEM. So yeah, 2 years ago, we were awarded a grant to increase capacity of CPR and a notification system. In Missoula, the Pulse Point app is a notification system that's up and running. If you have any questions, please get to me. It's great both for public to use and then agencies. We have a pro responder version that gets you some more information. We have a bunch of CPR events coming up this summer and due to close that grant out in September.
Okay, next we have the CWDG and the BLM grant, and Tim LaRoche is going to tell us a little bit about those grants.
Read my notes.
Okay.
Okay, so a little bit of an update on the wildfire mitigation program. We were just able to bring on 2 new employees last week. So we have a full team now, myself, Jerry Sarabia sitting next to me as the preparedness coordinator, and then 2 mitigation specialists, one that will focus on fuels and one that will focus on education. So currently we are finishing up 2 forest action plan grants, one up in Marshall Canyon and one in Patty Canyon. And then our CWDG, the big grant that we were awarded about 6 months ago, we have currently planned and ongoing projects in Patty Canyon, Grant Creek, Big Flat, Evero, Potomac, Sealy Lake, and Condon. And then we've got some chip days planned for some of the communities around here, Grant Creek, the Rattlesnake, Patty Canyon, and then a bunch of community education events planned for the coming months. BLM grant, which is a $75,000 grant per year for 5 years. We did some 30 folks, a 30 private party outreach to Clinton earlier this year with Firewise information, as well as a cost share flyer for the BLM fuels reduction work that we offer. Currently, 1 project in Evero and 1 potential project in Deer Creek through that grant.
You bet. Thanks, Tim. And so there's another grant, the BRIC grant, that's ongoing. Current projects are ongoing, albeit cautiously because of the political environment. We're not sure where that's going to land, but but for now, it hasn't been canceled, and we're moving forward with the projects in there cautiously, hoping that they won't get canceled.
All right, next thing on the agenda is upcoming trainings and exercises.
So the first thing on upcoming trainings and exercises is the multi-year training and exercise plan. I sent out a survey for this to various agencies, fire chiefs, law enforcement, EMS, all of our committee leads on this. We're looking for input at the agency level, so not individual input. But we'll take individual input, but we want to sort of weigh the input at the agency level and then put together the plan based on the top 3 or 4 core capabilities that all of the agencies prioritize, and also the sort of response areas indicated in the form, what is prioritized there. We've got 10 responses so far, which is pretty good. I've put a deadline for the end of the week to get that in. So if you've received that and have not filled that out, fill that out and get that back to us. The deadline is basically an arbitrary deadline, just so that we have a stop point for it and kind of pushes people to get that done by the end of the week. So I'll send that out again to make sure everybody has it. And it only takes, I made sure it was a quick form. It takes 5 to 10 minutes at the most to fill out. Next, we have the Geohazards Workshop taking place up in Kalispell. The Geohazards folks from Butte put that on every year, Montana Geohazards group. And last year was in Missoula. This year it's in Kalispell on May 7th and 8th. If you have any questions about that, get a hold of me and I'll get you more information on that. Next, we have an evacuation strategy and planning training coming up in Missoula on June 10th. So this is, I'll get this out after this meeting to everybody, but I've pushed it out to our primary target audiences of law enforcement and some emergency management and really cooperators who would help us in the event of an emergency first. so that we can get them signed up. Whatever spaces are left, and there should be plenty of spaces left, we will open it up to the rest of the LAPC group. Next is a Zootown tabletop exercise coming up. Randy has been working on that. Randy, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Randy again. This Thursday, the 10th, we're holding a tabletop exercise with the promoter and his contracted staff. The Zootown Music Festival's coming July 4th and 5th to Missoula, be held at the county fairgrounds. And so this tabletop exercise is really to invite our responding, our agency partners. The Weather Service has a good showing, Health Department, ambulance. So it's really intended to understand the show that they plan on putting down and then open those lines of discussions if there was an incident during that event, how that command and control is going to flow and start those conversations. So if you are interested, with me after the meeting and I can get you on the invite list. But I think we have 50. We have really good showing. We have 50 coming from around the county.
Thanks, Randy. We do these types of tabletop exercises quite often, and they're really helpful in sort of pre-gaming incidents that could occur within an event or an incident. So they really help a lot. Next, we have the Northwest Energy Wildfire Summit, and I'm going to put you on the spot here a second, Shane, to talk a little bit about that.
So Shane Coleman, Northwestern Energy. I'm our wildfire situational awareness manager, meaning I just watch fire conditions and weather and really focusing around public safety power shutoffs, which is a pretty significant topic nowadays, right? We are holding a wildfire summit May 28th and 29th in Helena. We intend to have the first day kind of internal, bring all the co-ops and some of the other utilities in Montana together to talk about our technologies, our strategies. We have a dedicated team. A lot of the co-ops don't necessarily have dedicated teams like we're establishing and standing up at this point. So first day is really intended to kind of focus on that. Day two is really with our agency partners and emergency service partners to learn a little bit more about what we do and what you also may need from us. So that'll be May 29th. One additional comment, these guys kind of set it up for us. We are doing an internal tabletop around public safety power shutoffs. And that is going to be the week prior to that. So us, again, kind of learning, using an environment to understand our own policies, procedures, and then how we're going to effectively execute those if we ever need to. And hopefully we never do.
Thanks, Shane. Let's see. So finally, we're going to do our flood stakeholders meeting. And this is a meeting that we do every year. We just get everybody together to pre-game out what could happen during a flood season. Leanne has told us we're not looking at a big chance for flooding, but that doesn't mean a zero chance. And it always makes good sense to get everybody in the room anyway, so that we can talk about what we would do if something occurs, but also to maintain those relationships that we've come used to relying upon when incidents do occur, because they're not just for flooding, they're for all kinds of things, like the windstorm in July, for example. So look for an email coming from Ken Parks in probably a meeting in mid to late April about that. We usually do that here in this room, and we spend about an hour just talking about if flooding occurs, who's going to do what all the moving pieces could be, and those kind of things. Does anybody have any questions on any of the trainings or exercises that we have coming up? Okay, Mr. Chair.
All right, thanks, Nick. Next thing on the agenda is local and statewide hazmat incidents since the last meeting.
Okay, Pete was here and he could have reported on that. Do we have any? Randy can help us with that.
Hi, Randy again. Talked to our friends over at the Missoula Fire Department today. That's a joint hazmat team that is hosted here in Missoula. So they had 3 responses, 2 out to Sanders County to assist at the school. And then last week had a response coordinating with MPD and the civil support team to assist them. So 3 responses.
Thanks, Randy. Keeping in line with the hazmat theme, this is, LAPC is, you might know, started as a hazmat-related meeting through the EPA, but sort of morphed into an all-hazard meeting here in Missoula County and a lot of other places. But keeping in the theme with hazmat, next we're going to talk about Tier 2 reports received through E-Plan. Every year we receive Tier 2 reports, they're hazmat reporting through the E-Plan platform. These are reportable quantities of hazmat used for industrial purposes, used for medical purposes, used for any purposes. Anybody that exceeds the reportable threshold should go on to E-Plan and create a hazmat report, and that report goes to our office, the Office of Emergency Management, and we can share that with the hazmat team or fire departments whenever there's an incident and let them know what's out there, what's nearby. It's mapped as well. There's multiple ways we can search it. So we did receive, I don't know how many reports this year, but quite a few, more than in the past. So we're grateful for that. That's going well. And that's all I have on that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is roundtable other business.
Anybody have anything their agency is doing for the good of the group?
I have something. On Thursday at 10 a.m., Yellowstone Pipeline's going to do a boom deployment at Schwartz Creek out near Clinton. So if anybody wants to participate, we'll be out there about 10:30 Thursday morning.
And if you send me some information on that, I know you put some flyers out there, but we can also get that through the LAPC network.
Okay.
I have something as well. OEM has been working on an animal preparedness group through the MSU Extension Office. We're partnering with them to develop animal preparedness. One of the primary reasons that people do not evacuate is because of their animals, whether they're livestock or pets. So we're trying to talk to people about what would happen in an emergency with your farm or your animals. The Red Cross generally does not take them in shelters. I think they may be softening a little bit on that, but that historically, animals have not been allowed in shelters, so we need to find other means for taking care of animals. We did meet on February 21st. We had pretty engaged group of about 10 folks from the equestrian park, some veterinarians, some state-level folks, OEM, Extension Office. Productive meeting. We're going to meet again. We're also planning an animal emergency preparedness awareness month in June, and we tentatively have 4 events set up. A kickoff and a webinar about farm planning, a template for that to help people get through that. A hands-on event on June 12th at the Big Sky Horse Park with demos in trailering in an emergency, temporary animal IDs, aid kits, and how to use an extinguisher. June 16th, there'll be a webinar on Smart 911 for folks. You've probably heard us talking about Smart 911 in this meeting quite often. But one thing that Smart 911 allows you to do is upload animal information, be it livestock or pets or reptiles, whatever you may have. We can upload that information. You can upload that information to your safety profile, including pictures of your animals, including detailed information about your animals and whatever you would need done with your animals in an emergency response. We want to be careful not to set the expectation that government is going to swoop in and save the day with all your animals, but we want rather to enhance your individual preparedness with preparing for animal emergencies. And then on the 27th, we're going to have a Department of Livestock biosecurity person provide a lecture on all the issues surrounding that. So with that, I'm done with the OEM side. Anybody else have any thing for the roundtable discussion? A motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we're adjourned. The next meeting is on July 8th, same time, Tuesday, in this room. Thanks, folks.